Thank you all for coming today. This is our third day of our symposium on advancing information sharing in the child welfare system. And today is our technology summit. Today you've been invited to make all the good ideas we had on Monday and Tuesday work on Wednesday. So you'll be hearing about all those good things. You'll be hearing about a number of initiatives going on. My name is Don Will, and I'm from the Administrative Office of the Courts, Center for Families, Children, and the Courts. So I was asking myself how to explain why on earth are the courts hosting a summit on information sharing and child welfare. Some of you, but not all of you, heard the chair of the Blue Ribbon Commission, Justice Richard Huffman, speak on Monday, and I think he said it the best. The juvenile court judge in the dependency system, which is what we in the courts generally call the foster care system or the child welfare system. It has a lot of names. The juvenile court judge is the legal parent of a child in foster care. The judge makes the order to remove the child from the home. The judge might actually make the order to terminate the parental rights. Hopefully that won't happen, but even when it doesn't happen, then it's the judge who supervises the care of the child and makes the order to reunify the child with his or her parents. So, along with the social workers, the CASAs, the teachers, the probation officers, the many others involved in the system, the buck kind of stops with the juvenile court judge. And it's a small system, the judicial branch and the AOC. We tend to count, when we count the number of foster care juvenile dependency judges in the state, we figure there are about 150, and very few of them have a full-time assignment in juvenile court. So that's 150 judges supervising as many as 60,000 children in the foster care system, so it's pretty easy to do the math and get their caseload, especially since we're at the Technology Summit. I know you're all good at mental arithmetic. It's easy to do the math, and there are thousands of social workers, there's thousands of CASAs, there's thousands of teachers, but there's about 150 juvenile court judges. So we really need to bring technology to the bench to give them the information they need. There was another, I can't remember which judge said it on Monday or Tuesday, that they said I might have 2 or 3 minutes to make a decision about a child, and I have a stack of paper on the bench that's a foot high. So it's kind of a luck of the draw. Am I going to dig into this stack of paper and pull out the piece of paper I need to tell me what could it be? Their attendance, whether the child is attending school, how well the child is doing in school, whether the child is going to therapy, are they getting therapy, where do they live, where are they placed, are they possibly placed in a home where there might be other safety problems. There's many, many heavy decisions we all deal with. And I really believe strongly that technology is the best way to deliver that to the judge. It's kind of, when you're talking about a caseload that can number 1,000, the only way to get the key health information, the key education information, the key life and placement information to the judge. So that's why we're here today. And just one more little piece of context. Hearings in dependency court, our best practice is that they might last up to an hour. The resources we have, they're often a few minutes. So it's really important to get that information to the judge. Everyone who came on Monday and Tuesday, which was geared, there were many folks who are still here today. Thanks for staying. All of you who are staying, you look really tired. I wonder. We have been working hard, and we've been working hard on a couple of things. There have been a couple of streams that we hope meet today, and you can all help us kind of sort them out and figure out what to do next. The first stream are the big federal initiatives around information sharing. You'll hear much more about that today, particularly in healthcare. But how do we incorporate those into our technology planning for child welfare and really take advantage of them and really make them work? The second stream is the work that our partners at the Stewards of Change have been doing, visiting several counties in the state, talking to many more, and coming up with good solutions, we think, at the local level to information sharing, sharing educational information, sharing health information. So our second question for all of you today is, how can we take the best of these initiatives and bring them to scale? As we know, it takes a while to build the large complex systems that both the courts and child welfare have been working on for several years. And I think a kind of consensus of the first 2 days is, let's identify some smaller scale pilots that can help us and that we can bring to scale in the courts and counties. So I want to acknowledge the folks who made this meeting possible, particularly the Stewart Foundation and its program officer, Terry Cook, the Stewards of Change, who you'll be hearing from Daniel Stein in a minute, but have been really wonderful helping us put this meeting together, and the Blue Ribbon Commission on Foster Care. Since we're at the last day of our meeting, and I know sometimes people leave a little early to catch a plane or what have you, I just want to thank the AOC staff on my team who've helped put this meeting together. And those folks are Paul Bebo, who's been driving the bus for the last 3 days, Carolyn Burnaby, who's been working at the reception desk out there and can help you with a number of things, including, let me say, the sign up for the shuttle to the airport. Nadine Blashak-Brown, who's our grants manager for this project and has done a lot to bring federal money in to help us put this symposium on. Will Sanson, who a lot of you know and has been indefatigable at working on NEAM, at working on HIE, and trying to persuade all of us at the courts and child welfare to join him. And Chris Wu, supervising attorney and executive director of the Blue Ribbon Commission. So thank you all very much for coming. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Daniel.
A little shorter. Thanks, Don. So I'm Daniel Stein from Stewards of Change, and had the great pleasure over the last couple of days of working with actually quite a large group of folks who've dedicated a lot of thinking and energy and innovation, creativity to really come together, I think in a unique way, to really think about and work on innovation and how to scale, how to identify innovative practices and how to scale them rapidly across the state. This is obviously a turbulent time, not only in California, but across the country, as systems look at how do they get more efficient, how do they get more effective, how do they do more with less, so to speak, and yet the needs and the demands of our populations are continuing to grow. And how we orient our resources and our people and our time to really deliver responsive, just-in-time kinds of solutions is on everybody's mind across the country. And I just want to talk for just a couple minutes. We'll hear more a little bit later about some of the details. This is a little bit like a relay race, right? So the first 2 days, we've had about 100 people, so that we actually had the third room filled as well, taking people through a series of exercises. And I'll go over that very quickly just to give you a sense of where we came from. And now it's kind of the relay race. So the baton is being passed here for this esteemed group to be able to look at in a sense, the distillate from that work and think about applying a technological perspective to it. Many of you have been invited here because of your knowledge, your experience, your background, and your ability to think in those terms. And oftentimes, conferences, my experience is that you either do a program and policy conference or you do a more technical kind of conference. And that very hard to blend those two together because the language is different, the focus is different. You got half the group sleeping on one day and half the group sleeping on the other day, and how you bring them together. So what we're trying to do here is, in fact, innovative by design in itself in trying to bridge these things. So we're going to just take you through a little bit of that, and ideally what we'll end up today with is your insights, observations, critique, and assessment, and good thoughts about how do we take this good work forward in a very expedited, rapid fashion. So this is not conceptual, theoretical stuff, although Kim will give us a little bit of that from an enterprise architecture perspective. But we really approach this very intentionally to think pragmatically. No one has time to waste on 5-year plans right now. There's stuff that needs to get done right here. And so part of the process, and this has been actually a long process in the making, we've been interacting with CDSS and the courts for many years. We've held a number of conferences over the years where we brought people together to think about these things on a national basis in terms of information sharing, interoperability, those kinds of things. And because there hasn't been really a center for interoperability anywhere in the country, we've in many ways sort of acted not knowingly at first that we were doing that, but it turned out that we've been able to bring people together over the years. We've had 6 national conferences. We've probably brought together about 600 people from about 30 states who are really sort of impassioned, sort of the devotees of how do we connect systems from across both the courts as well as social services, public health, the private sector, philanthropy, academia. And a number of years ago, folks from California attended those conferences, Will and Don and Chris, and a number of other folks from different counties have participated in that, and that generated a lot of interest in how do we bring those ideas to California, given the magnitude, the scope, and the requirements here. So this is actually, as I said, this is really the product of a number of years' worth of thinking and the preparation for that, and we're hoping it's the start of a process that can help bring a lot of good thinking from the national perspective and multiple states into California, and then also transfer what you guys are doing here, which is so innovative in so many places, back out to the national. So while we're very focused on California and we're very focused on a number of the counties we visited, I want to let you know that this is connected to actually a national initiative. And so your thoughts and your contribution and your participation, while it is in this room and in this state, it also has the opportunity to reverberate broadly. And there's a tremendous hunger for innovation around how do you take innovative ideas that are in locales and figure out how to spread them and scale them rapidly and efficiently and effectively. And everybody's looking to figure out how to do that across various agencies, across various programs, across various populations. On top of that, we're thinking about what's the impact of healthcare? Don mentioned that. What's the impact of the Affordable Care Act and the High-Tech Act and ARA and the tsunami of resources and the demands on the state and people to sort of figure that out with this one-time opportunity to be able to really capture that and make sure that we're incorporating our most vulnerable populations in that opportunity to rebuild and to think about it. So we're actually going from micro to macro. So we've got a lot of different moving pieces here. And I won't get into the details of that now, but we'll address some of that as we go throughout the day here. So what we have planned from an agenda perspective, let me just back up one second. Some of the work that we did in preparation for this, again, was very focused on looking at practical applications that are actually occurring across the state. And so our team spent the last couple, 6 weeks or so, visiting 6 counties and working with a broad group of representatives from those counties to really look at a series of programs that they actually have on the ground that they're working now and have distilled that information down. In the last couple of days, we've been looking at 11 examples from counties, from education, from health, to integrated coordinated databases, to an overall integrated, program, a lot of diversity, some that are very sort of focused and narrow and some that are very, very expansive. And so what we've done is we've had a couple of days of having the opportunity to look at those in some detail and have the group, again, from a multidisciplinary perspective, look at those and assess those and then create some initial project plans. And these boards here actually represent some of the thinking that's gone on, and we're going to share that with you later today, or later this morning, actually. And so that what we've intended was to take the learning that's out there in the counties, bring it forward today as examples. It's not a comprehensive view of the state and all the innovation, all the programs, all the information sharing programs that are going on, but they are real things that are happening or in the process of being developed. And we wanted to make sure we grounded our thinking and our work in stuff that was real and that was happening, recognizing that there was a need to be able to spread that and to get more efficient. Certainly the questions of change, the questions of the economic impact, the questions of the relationship between the state and the counties and the private sector, all that is changing. And I know that there's not a lot of certainty about what that is, except we know that there's going to be ongoing change. And so how does this group and how does the larger group that's involved with this actually act as a change agent and help provide guidance and help provide energy and intensity and intelligence about how do we take the good stuff that's going and rapidly expand that and show it and take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. So what we'll be doing today is starting with it's probably the macro orientation in terms of what's going on from a technological perspective and a policy perspective from California. Lynette Scott will come talk in just a moment about that. And then Kim Richardson and Jerry Pape will talk a little about some of the federal initiatives, which we think are so vital and so important and actually will have a tremendous impact on potentially every state in the country over the next couple of years and probably over the next generation, given the direction that's come out of the administration and the effort that's going on. And I'll let Jerry and Kim talk more about the architecture and some of the standards work that's going on. And we wanted to provide that baseline. So as you think about this work, we need to ground it in that context, which is important. Then we switch our focus to the work that's been prepared over the last couple of days. And we'll have a presentation by our champions who worked diligently over the last couple of days to really distill down some of these ideas. And we'll work as groups to look at how do we take those things and think clearly about next steps. Clearly, I think we even use the word implementation plans in the agenda, but I think we're backing off a little bit from that because it's really not realistic to think about an implementation plan because Greg Rose, who's not here, confirmed that he did not have a bag of money that he was ready to put on the table today for that. No, had he done that, this would be an implementation plan, and we would figure out which one was going to get the money or not. The fact that he's not here, so I guess that's representative of that. All joking aside, what we do want to do is have some very clear ideas of what's possible and whether or not these actually get implemented immediately or a different set of programs get implemented. We want to be able to showcase what those look like. And your help is going to be critically important from a critical eye perspective on what is it going to take, what's the technologies that we have, what should we be thinking about to actually scale these things more broadly. And then what do we need to do longer term, 6 to 12 months longer term is what I'm thinking about, is to take advantage of the momentum, take advantage of the leadership from the courts and the Department of Social Services and the Stewart Foundation to help the state, help the counties, and help the people interested in information sharing actually move this forward in some coordinated fashion. And so that thinking will end the day on that kind of sort of visionary thinking in a way, but again, pragmatically based in terms of what we can actually go do and how this can be organized and how do we leverage the resources that are at the table here and others that will ideally be joining us on this pursuit, in this pursuit. So a lot of information there. We've given you a lot of information, some of the information in your materials here, and there's a collaboration site that we've built and we've put up for folks to get into now, but also following the conference, which will allow you to pull down all the presentations. All of the plenary sessions have been videotaped, so those are available. Plus, probably 60 hours of tapes from our national conferences that talk about issues like confidentiality and technologies and policy issues and a whole bunch of different things that have relevance to this. And I just wanted to say that one of the really interesting plenaries we held yesterday was really around confidentiality, information sharing. And Keith Tresh was here from OSI. Was it from OSI? Or CTS, to talk about security and privacy in the context of being able to share information, because underlying all of this work is the ability to share information within a legal framework. And so we recognize that's critically important, and there's a stream of work going on to address that as well.